It's fall 2020 and everything sucks. I'm making a life update video to update everyone. Part 1. Addressing the style change. So, worst case scenario, my first single of 2020 comes out today, and if you've heard it already, I certainly hope you've enjoyed it. But if you have heard it, you probably noticed that this doesn't sound particularly like this. And the reason for that change is, well, everything. In January 2020, a more relaxed, shorter bearded, and generally calmer Carl had every intention of continuing in the sound that Double Decades was in, this sort of neoclassical alt-rock, if you will. Someone told me it's like combining Midwest emo with symphonic band, which I kind of like. I'm sure there are some Midwest emo purists who are just disgusted at the mere idea of that. But no matter what you want to call it, my new single doesn't have any orchestration on it. And neither do the singles that will be coming out later this year and early next year. Writing and arranging for orchestra is a really important part of my creative process, and by extension, a really important part of me as a human. But for a ton of different reasons, 2020 was majorly not the year to be assembling large groups of my friends to be making these sort of DIY orchestras. But I'm holding out hope for 2021. When the time comes to record new music, I do want to incorporate orchestral elements in my music again. Part 2. Why singles? So, worst case scenario is the first of 6 songs that I was able to record this summer. I'm going to be releasing those songs one at a time, which probably makes some folks watching this video a little bit grumpy.
What sort of backwards fucking pageantry is that?
I get that. I would be grumpy too if the roles were switched. Like, if you have the songs, people want to listen to the songs, why not just release the songs so people can listen to the songs and we can all go about our day? Why are we making a fuss out of this? But let me explain myself a little. Without live shows, the only real way I can consistently get my music in front of a new audience is through streaming services. So, if I want to build any sort of forward momentum, at least for the time being, I kind of need to be playing the algorithm game. The main player here being Spotify. Sorry, Apple Music listeners. So if, as an artist, you want your music to be put on Spotify curated playlists, you need to submit your music for playlist consideration. Outside of really large and already established artists, most curated playlists are based around music releases. So as an up-and-coming artist, you have roughly 1 month after your release where your music is playlistable and thus discoverable. So if I released all 6 of these songs at once, I would optimistically have 1 month where my music was discoverable to new audiences. So by releasing these songs 1 song per month, I've effectively made my discoverability period 6 times as long, hopefully gaining new listeners and momentum with each release. Part 3. Live music? So as some of you are probably aware, I've been doing what I call Deliver-a concerts. The concept is pretty basic. Instead of having people come to me at a venue, I go to the people. I've played in people's back lawns, I've played on people's front porches, I've played in parks, I've played really anywhere outside where people can safely gather, maintain social distance, and listen from a safe distance. I've done about 6 in total now. And these are a really good time for sure, but they're not doing a lot as far as exposing my music to a new audience, because most of the people who are having these delivery shows come to them are already people who are aware of my music and listening. I'm mostly doing these shows for my own sanity, because playing music for people and getting out of the house are 2 things that are very, very beneficial for my mental health this year. Part 4. Staying motivated when the world is crumbling. In preparation for this video, I asked some of my friends what sort of updates they would be curious to hear about. And my friend Rachel asked me how I stay motivated to continue to make music during these really, really turbulent times. And the answer is complicated. I really wish that I could have some sort of like cliche stars and rainbows answer where it's like music is a part of my soul and I process my pain by making art, and both of those things are true to a certain degree, but when things feel as bleak as they do right now, like zero part of me wakes up in the morning and is like, yeah, let's write some music today. I wake up and I want to go back to bed. The truth of how I actually stay motivated is much more complicated than that. First off, this video, which I'm going to link in the description and I highly recommend, came out in April, and it was without a doubt the most beneficial 10 minutes I spent watching anything this year. I really recommend that you watch it yourself, but in summary, what this video says is that when you are quarantined and quarantining, the structure and the schedule of the outside world has no effect on you. But our brains normally work best when there is some sort of routine in place. So if you're going to have a routine, and the outside world's routine doesn't affect you, you need to implement and enforce a routine upon yourself, which is really hard. But outside of my just day-to-day routine, I also use these. It's a system of 20-day calendars. So at the beginning of each 20-day cycle, I look at what I have to do over the next 20 days and figure out where I need to be focusing my energy the most intensely. I found that a 20-day cycle makes more sense than a monthly calendar because normally by the end of 20 days, my priorities need to change slightly. So for instance, during this 20-day cycle, I have worst case scenario coming out in the middle, so I really need to be emphasizing my release prep. But by the end of this 20-day cycle, worst case scenario will have been out, and so I don't need to emphasize it as much during my next 20-day cycle. The fact that every 20 days I get to reset where I put my priorities and where I'm emphasizing the most of my time has been really beneficial for me. Obviously, this system isn't for everyone, but I've learned that my brain works best when I can impose mathematical systems onto generally non-mathematical things. With this system, I can make stats out of my own productivity and my own creativity, and these statistics are more tangible and my progress or regression is more visual. And that makes me motivated to wake up every day and do the thing, whatever the thing may be. And then at the end of the day, if I've done the thing, I get a little X in a little box, and that makes my brain release dopamine for some reason. I haven't gone super in-depth about how the system works in this video because I don't pretend to be a life coach, I don't pretend to have all the answers. But even though it does sometimes feel silly and it feels like I'm giving myself gold stars for doing menial tasks, it really has helped me see the bigger picture and continue to work towards large projects in this really, 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 really messed up year. Part 5. Finn. Thank you for watching all of that. I know that probably wasn't the most exciting video you've seen all week, but I really wanted to give everyone as honest a life update as I could. Worst case scenario is out right now. Despite what the title may imply, it's actually my most optimistic and uplifting song. I kind of poke fun at myself a few times for being a hipster, and I hope you can listen to it, and I hope it makes you smile. God knows I could use a smile or two these days. Claw machine. No chance of winning, but the process of losing's an exciting one. It's like a romance novel. No plot or anything, just avoiding saying things that we already know. She's at the closet now. Sorry I told you when I was drunk, I meant to tell you sober, but the moment just never felt right.